Welcome back, everyone. We will now be moving on to our final session before we announce the winners. Introducing the AI Spotlight. We'll be hearing about the rise of AI and fintech startups, opportunities, trends, and what's next. Our two speakers are Santhosh, founder and CEO of Unified Modern Minds, a 200 strong AI and digital consulting firm, and Karen, founder and CEO of Sherloc, a next generation financial intelligence platform for small businesses and a name on the Women in FinTech Power List. Moderating this session is Harry Nijjar, founder of Woodstock. Over to you, Harry.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thanks. Can we give a round of applause for our speakers, please? I am so excited for this panel. Honestly, I think the whole day has been amazing. I had to step out for a meeting and then I had to run back. But it's, having seen a bit of the pictures and the introduction, it blows me away actually to see so much amazing energy in the room. I find that entrepreneurial energy and creative energy, we need more of that. The more we have of that, it unlocks so many things. I'm in so many rooms with people, and I always find that there's this element of, oh, we can't do this, or we can't do that. There's always barriers. But entrepreneurial people don't think about barriers. There are no barriers. We just think we can make anything happen. And I think that's, for me, something we should tie into. And I'm really excited to get the insights from this panel. I feel like I want to make this very conversational. So imagine we were in a pub, right? And we just met.
Where's her pint?
Where's my pint, right? Obviously, academic setting, so we can't drink alcohol. But I would like to just kind of hand over one by one, just share stories. Obviously, I can share each story. I'll share my own entrepreneurial story as well. And then I think, for us, I think our job is to share as much insight with these amazing people as possible. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to questions. I think the interaction between us on stage and you guys is where the value is, right? And I think for me, there are no stupid questions, dumb questions. Honestly, don't be afraid. Speak out, have that dialogue. And then obviously afterwards there'll be networking, you can follow up and that kind of thing. So I want to start with Karen. I'd love to start with Karen.
Oh, ladies first.
Ladies first, because I think I don't meet many female entrepreneurs, generally.
You're in the wrong rooms.
I don't meet many.
Look around you.
But when I do meet them, I find them to be way above male entrepreneurs. Actually, if you look in the detail of this, female-led companies perform about 30% better than male-led companies, right? But ironically, female entrepreneurs only get 1% of VC funding. So there's this weird things about. So for me, the way the female mind works and the brain is wired, there is amazing value in that, and we're already not tapping into it as a society. So I kind of want to frame that first, and then hand it to Karen. Karen, could you tell us a little bit about your story and kind of I want to hear about how because I think there's always a story about how someone goes from an employed world or having a job and then jumping into entrepreneurship. There's this moment. So I kind of want to focus on that and then just hear the story wider, so that's okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You're like one of my favorite people right now. I love this. So I guess a little bit about my background. So I actually believe that all of us are naturally born entrepreneurs, right? And it's whether that passion, that curiosity, that constant questioning is nurtured when we're kids or not. And sadly, the academic world across the world, is designed to say, hey, don't ask stupid questions or follow the following rules. And here's the expectation. And in my generation, the expectation was that you were going to be a doctor, an accountant, or a lawyer, right? But I was very lucky that my parents were entrepreneurs and they kind of nurtured that. So my first venture was at 9 years old, selling illegal garbage pail cartridges. For those of you who don't know, they're Cabbage Patch Kids cartoon cards. I'm not going to tell you anymore. And I was racking it in. I mean, I was making back then about $500 US. We're talking like the 80s.
What were your parents thinking about that when they saw the money coming in at this young age? Were they like, go for it,
really
embracing it?
My dad would take me to the bazaar to get like a box of them, and then he'd feel like, "Are you charging for the piece of gum?" And I'm like, "Yes, Daddy, I am." So yeah, I think I was very fortunate that I did grow up in that environment. And then obviously you go into school and you have ideas and people tell you don't be stupid, don't ask stupid questions, and you start getting that top down, like you need to comply. But then again, and I went into engineering, which I learned very quickly that in chemical engineering, the 80-20 rule when you're messing around with chemicals doesn't work. And my boss pulled me to the side and he was like, okay, look, we'd really want you in the engineering side, but the head of the lab is about to have a heart attack. Like this 80-20 thing we don't understand it. We want to keep you away. But again, so I was suddenly finding myself surrounded by people who understood that my brain worked a certain way. That when there was a fire, I was going to run towards the fire. And as I was running, I was pulling people with me to say, hey, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to put this out? Can we divert it and send it somewhere else? And that's one of the things I love that you said. It's, entrepreneurs, they don't see barriers. We see opportunities. Most people will sit there and look at a wall and we'll be going, oh, I wonder what that wall is made out of. Like, I see little gaps that I can kind of use to step up on. And when I came to the UK, I was fortunate enough to be approached by a guy who said, I'm setting up a .com.
What year was this one?
Oh, this is 98.
98.
And there was the wild west of the .com because the Brits did not want to miss out. They'd seen what the Americans were doing and they're like, quickly, we need to kind of replicate
A bit
that
like the
shit.
AI bubble now, right?
A little bit like and actually that was the thing. I've been in Canada, so I came over from Canada. I'd already seen the bubble bursting.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I'm only here for the summer. I'm going to ride this wave and make money and then go back and pay off my student loans. And actually it turned into a great opportunity. We listed on AIM. So every mistake in the book about what not to do when you're listing a company, I made. But it was okay. I was 20, 21, 22 years old and off we went. And then I exited and I decided actually I'd learned so much. I had no formal training to be an entrepreneur. I was such a science-based person. I went off and I got an MBA, or I started getting an MBA part-time. And then I had my sights set on investment banking and I was like, I'm going to be there because they pay well. And that was my one thing. I didn't care about what investment banking was. I just wanted to make money. And again, I managed to get an opportunity to get my toe in the door. And naturally, I found my space, which was, large transformation programs, change the bank, big money, running towards those fires. You have to craft, your opportunities, even in a big corporate space. Because, I would take up a job and then within weeks, it was clear that I wasn't vibing with my boss. I wasn't vibing with the role. But I still wanted to stay in the bank. So I would then go and find and speak to people. You gotta create those opportunities. And I would hear that there was a transformation program somewhere and I'd say, okay, well, can I come and work with you? And people love that proactiveness, right? And you will find support for entrepreneurship everywhere you go. You just have to ask. And I'm an introvert, actually. This has taken a lot of coaching and a lot of pinching from my mother. So I created those opportunities, came out of investment banking when it got a little bit boring because I was going bank to bank to do big transformation programs for the boards by then. So I would be reporting directly into the boards. But it was the same tick in the box, process. Came out and one of my ex-bosses called me up and I was literally on holiday on a golf course attempting to play golf. And they were like, can you come back in? And I was like, I'll come back in, but I'm thinking about starting my business. They're like, yeah, we don't care. We just want you back in. And I think that's when you start realizing that your reputation, when you keep the promises that you're going to make and you stay transparent, those relationships will carry you through. My investors are now people that I work with, even bosses that I didn't think liked me. So that's how it kind of made the transition. I founded Fire Drake. Literally off the bat, it was a consulting firm. We worked for the banks. Same thing, transformation programs. We started to develop our own tech platform. I sold that in 2019. And then 2 weeks later, like a true entrepreneur, I was like, right, what are we going to do? And what's next? And that's where we are now with Sherloc. And this time around, and I wanted to go big.
I love that. I think what resonates for me is that you had this upbringing of entrepreneurship, or that it was stimulated through parents Then you naturally went into your kind of discipline of engineering and studying, and then you saw the world opposite to the parents, right? Where they're like, there's these boundaries. Then you went into a job, into a career, and I think you were an entrepreneur in that job, where you were like, you had those entrepreneurial tendencies, but you were dynamically pushing it inside the business. They can't handle you. Not many companies actually support entrepreneurship. They really struggle with it. If they did, no entrepreneur would ever leave, right? So, and then what I see what happened, you graduated into entrepreneurship. You moved up the stack, right? And actually, I think everybody in this room, 90% of the room is going to do that here. You're going to go in a job, you're going to find boundaries, and then you're going to find a way to go out, like smash through that ceiling. It might take a year, it might take 10 years, 15 years. In my case, it took 12. But like, I think that's what happens. And what's interesting for me is that now you're on the side that you are. And to share insights with these amazing people, this is key. We have a question over there. Shall I take the question quickly before Shreya's got a mic to capture this question? If you go over there, if you do have questions, just put your hands up and I'll stop the chat, because I don't want to stop question. But I think for me, I see this trajectory a lot. I think it's very rare for academic students. It's like, it does happen though, don't say, call me wrong, but you can start a business straight away without having gone into corporate, right? It can happen. But one thing I want to share is that actually, I think it's amazing to have a job that you hate for a little while. The adversity it gives you is the fuel that you need for the entrepreneurship DNA. It's really weird because you go into a job and you're sold this dream of, if you don't like it, just leave. But actually, I sucked in, like in a job, I hated my job for about 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. But what that gave me was undeniable fuel. So yeah, can we have the question, please? Can you speak up so we can all hear you as well? That doesn't work for like audio, that's just to capture on the video. But yeah. Sorry about that.
Thanks for waiting.
Sorry about that.
All right, so I like what you mentioned about, it can happen before you start a job, or sometimes people go to a job and eventually psych out of it, grow out of it, either way you see it. But fundamental problem that exists today, at least for a lot of us in this room right now, is that the job market globally, it is unforgivingly brutal
Yes.
to unseen extents, especially across half a decade. What would your advice be as three fairly well accomplished, if not quite accomplished business people yourself, for us who want to perhaps get a taste of corporate just to realize it features?
Yeah. So I'll answer that question. I'll get everyone to answer it, and then basically, then we're going to get some Santhosh's story, right? Before we see, because I'm conscious we skipped a bit, but I'm conscious when people have questions not to. So I'll give a little bit of my history because this will help the answer. So I graduated from Warwick in 2008.
Woo!
So yeah, I'm an alumni. I studied film and literature, believe it or not. So it was an arts degree. And being an Indian person, normally Indian people don't get to study that because their parents say, if you're a doctor, engineer, you don't get to do that subject. But my parents were very open, thankfully. But actually, before that, the history I had was similar to you, Karen. My parents were entrepreneurs. They bought pubs, shops, restaurants, grocery stores. And I was, as a little child, running around those places, working in there. And I distinctly remember, this is too hard. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to get a job when I graduate, because this world is, I can't do this. Because, my day-to-day job was come home from school, help my mum in the shop, then go to the pub with my dad and come home at midnight, then go to school the next day like nothing happened. And I didn't realize that wasn't normal. Like, I just thought that was normal, but, anyway. Fast forward 12 years of a career. I graduated, did 12 years in marketing, and then decided to go self-employed. And then my last employer, I said to them, I'm starting an agency. Would you like to be a client? They said no. This was my marketing director at the time. The last day I leave, the CEO calls me in and says, Harry, how do we work with you? And I wrote on the board a service, double my salary plus VAT, and he signed the deal.
Yeah.
And that made me realize, I want to share that story because I think about it. It happened six years ago. I think about it, and that everyone at the time was saying, Harry, don't do it. You've got a really 6K figure job. You've got a car. Everyone loves you. Don't do it. And I did it anyway. And I would never have realized it. It was the right decision in the end. And to your point about the job thing, this is where I want to get to. So I now run a marketing agency for 6 years. I'm based at the University of Warwick. I've had loads of amazing clients. I can name like Turkish Airlines, Gymshark, UEFA, all the brands in the world. And I've noticed this problem of these brands not hiring the right talent. and the right creativity. They come to me and I do talks to them and they're all over it. So what I've done is I've started inviting the brands to the university, and I've actually built, you guys not aware of this, but I've built an event where a brand comes in, I interview them, I ask them what their biggest challenge is. I then say to the students, you've got half an hour to solve that challenge. The student that then solves that challenge to the best comes to stage, and the brand gives them a job on the spot.
That is wicked.
So I built that recently, but that's because I'm in entrepreneurship world. And I see in the employed world, the problem of you do a CV cover letter and you've generated it with AI. The company has seen the CV cover letter with AI, so no one wins. So I thought, you know what, let's get face to face and let's fix the entire problem. And what's great about that event is 500, so the next one will have 500 students. One person will get the job, but 499 people will see how they got the job, so they can learn from that. And then when the one person, after a month, the person will come back and present to everybody about what it was like to work for that company. So that's my answer to your question, because I've been thinking about it for about 6 months. You don't hear about it because I'm waiting for Warwick to sign it off. Because so this is what's interesting. Because I work as a guest lecturer at the business school, what's interesting is when I show this to the dean of the business school and the VC, they're like, Harry, this is too risky. This could damage us reputationally. This could do this. So you were saying that there's this tension between the two worlds, right? So it's about, the key is to find the right language and the right words and then showcase it to people. So what I've said is just come and have a look at it. Come and see it. Be in the room. Don't judge it by what I'm saying. Come and see it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because as you see, I've been thinking about this for a long time. But you know, but yeah, Santhosh, what do you think about this issue of these talented people trying to get a job and get corporate experience? Because I think it is important to do that.
Absolutely. I'm going to come to that in a minute, but I'll give you a quick introduction. So I'm the example that you mentioned. I've never worked in any corporate. I was straight out of college, startup that built whatever I'm doing right now. I built it back.
What
in
year was this?
2010.
Oh, nice.
2010, and I'm 37. Right. So
you don't look 37, so you're fine.
so 2008 I started this, and I was straight out of college, a startup. The only reason I got into entrepreneurship is because, for a really lame reason, I did not want to wake up early. Right. I'm a late riser, and I know I need to be in office by 8:30. And if it was this lame reason, I did not. And
that
also
gives you discipline, doesn't it? It gives you something.
now I sat there, right? Two, I obviously clock in about 14 to 16 hours on a day, on a daily basis right now, right? So that's how my beginnings were. But what helped me back then was I started early, I failed early, so I got the risk appetite, right? I can go to the middle of the streets, nowhere, with no money, leave me be, and I'll build my thing back up, right? The whole aspect of trying to be in a corporate environment, in a consistent job, I'm not saying I'm not against that, but that sometimes mellows down your risk appetite, right? You're tuned to your monthly salaries, you're tuned to your monthly direct debits, and you get into this vicious loop. That is the enemy of entrepreneurship, right? So when I graduated back, and I got jobs, not that I didn't get jobs, right? I got job in 3 companies, in college placements, but I didn't take even any, right? And obviously I was mocked at, joked at, saying, hey, you're going to take a big risk and etc. But that's okay for it, because I know for a fact, as a freelancer, prior 2 years to that, I had made some money, and I know I can make money. Probably it was small, but I will carve my own share. So the answer to your question is the job market really shabby? Yes. Now I employ about 275 as of today globally. We have offices in London, Atlanta, Toronto, Dubai, and Chennai, and Bangalore as well. We're about 270. Our hiring needs or our hiring frequency, speed, or momentum has gone down, thanks to AI only. Sarcasm, by the way, right? But that's where the world's moving towards. So as is the competition up the roof? Yes, the competition is up the roof. And what can you do to stand out? I'm not going to give you a typical answer, but I think you guys need to be flexible. Now, what do I mean by flexible? There were 7 applications in my company last week, and I said, I don't have an opening, but I like what you guys are doing. I like what you guys are building. I have customers or clients globally. We are a sales force to reckon with. We are extremely good sales team. We have 35 member pre-sales sales team across the globe. We do close to $23 to $27 million in terms of billing. That's our revenue this year, which is, I'm not a biggie yet, but we are a scale up. We're not a startup either, right? So the flexibility problem is this. I like what those people are building. They're all from different universities and etc. I said, I don't have an opening, right? But my thing is this. We are a company, and it's a very simple map. We have clients here. we have clients and customers. We have some sort of a product, and we have humans powering the product into our clients. It's a simple bridge, right? So I need to make sure, like Mr. ABC or Miss XYZ, when they are in my company, they work on the product or the solution, and the client likes their approach, the solutioning, and they get drawn in, right? And I said, hey, you need to be a little more flexible. I can expose you off to the clients. It might take anywhere between 45 days to 60, 65 days to get you billed. Billing means your per hour rate is then therefore billed into the customer, right? But those students weren't ready, for example, that terms of flexibility. Oh, it's either offer letter or it's not. And we are in no question to give offer letter because we're already running cash flow negative because our last 2 quarters was bleeding. We haven't reached our sales quarters, and we are way off from the annual books. We were supposed to do 35 million. We're only looking at a positive 23-24 right now. And we are in no position to write checks of 75K per annum or 100K per annum or 120K per annum. Simple problem, right? This is only from my point of view. Obviously there are larger companies who have their approaches, but I think one way that you need to do is be a little more flexible. Any chance that you're able to acquaint yourself into a company or a startup or an ecosystem, go there. Even if it is going to knock you off, like, hey, it's an unpaid internship at Citibank, go out there, right? I know for a fact you guys, most of you guys will be on a student loan sorts and etc. So you're all tuned to, hey, my month one the billing has to roll in and etc. Right? Now that's a mindset, and that's nothing wrong about it. But the market dynamics is tough, So that way, be a little more flexible and be a little more aggressive. And the world is not in your laptop. With all due respect, you're all applying for jobs, total jobs, this, that, and etc. UK is a very conservative, relationship-driven referral market. You meet one Harry, he puts you on to one guy, that guy puts you on to one company, and you get a job there.
Yeah,
that's the reality. It does not work on your job portal. So you can apply 400 jobs, 500 jobs, 1,000 jobs. I'll be surprised if we get one, right? Because I have a lot of friends. My very good, experienced friends are struggling. So that's the thing. Be more flexible, be more aggressive, and be out there, not only inside your laptop sitting in your room. That's not where the world is. Go out there to every event outside even Warwick Business School ecosystem as well, right? Make connects. That's the only way you can do it. It's my piece of advice.
I think that's amazing advice. And I think I'm going to just, on top of that, say the real key point was, can you have a stimulating conversation with somebody?
Absolutely. Yes.
Like I just told you my idea and I stimulated all your brains. Santhosh has told you, can you do the same to us? That's your challenge. And if you can't, you have to go back to the drawing board and you have to think about what do I need to study, what do I need to consume to be able to have those conversations. Because after the stimulating conversation, that's when you get the job. If you just go up to someone and say, I want a job, that's not stimulating. Karen, what do you think?
Well, I guess let me put this in a little bit into context because I think actually what you guys said is absolutely critical. When I was going and, I had my sights set on investment banking, it was after 9/11.
Wow.
And
Wow.
there was nobody hiring, right? The whole world had turned upside down. The markets were dead. Nobody knew which way to go, left or right or whatever. But I set my sights on investment banking. I had no banking experience. I was an engineer and a tech startup founder, right? But actually, I was sending hundreds of CVs, each one of them with a customized cover letter via this new thing called the internet. And at some point, all it takes is one. I remember the head of HR at UBS Trading saying, okay, you know what? We have never seen anybody send us 50 different versions of their CV for 50 different roles. So we're really curious to meet you. We don't think you're going to get any of the jobs that you've applied for, but we're just kind of curious. That's all I needed. I needed a toe in that door. And when I met with her and I met with the head of trading, and they're like, okay, so what do you think you can do? And I was like, well, here's my skill set. I'm really good at coordinating. This is a technology you're coming in because I did my research. I'm like, you've got a whole bunch of quants and mathematicians and developers, and not one of them speaks the same language. You need somebody who's going to coordinate delivery, and you've got new trading systems to put in. I've got the skills to do that. And actually, there was no open job. They created a job. And that's how I managed to get my first chance in the door. Now, that said, I took more than a 50% pay cut. I've been making really good money as a startup founder, even after I exited. I had to, make decisions and be flexible. I had a 6-week unpaid trial period with a corporate bank because they were like, we're going to do a handshake deal. If you don't stack up after 6 weeks, there's no point in us getting the paperwork in and doing the due diligence. And it was around, you have to give, you have to think, and you have to be flexible to go after something. Now, as I'm looking around the room, there's a couple of you who are interns that are going to be coming in and working for Sherloc, right? You put yourselves out there, you volunteered, you competed, you held through, when we created our hackathon because we're passionate about driving entrepreneurship. We're doing it in a particular way to help, young people understand that you need to, act differently to run a company successfully in the future. But what I loved was that people emailed us and said, I know I didn't win, but I would like to work for you guys. Is there an opportunity? I love that. That gets your little toe in that door. Once that toe is in, the whole body is easy to get through.
Sure. So tell you the people that I love in this room. There's a portion. After this talk, all right, there'll be people brave enough to come up and say, hey, I really loved that thing you talked about. Can I connect with you on LinkedIn? And could we have a coffee? And I'd really like to share a really cool idea that I'd love your feedback on, right? Now that takes bravery and takes guts to do that. Yeah. How many of you can do that right now? I couldn't do it when I was your age. It took me a long time, but if you can do that right now, you're already ahead of the competition. Yeah. That's something to think about as well. And what's interesting is, sorry, is there, you like, put your hand up, question, 5 minutes. Are there any other questions? Well, we got 5 minutes, so I'm conscious of time. Otherwise, I'll ask the question. All right, no questions. So, basically, I think in terms of entrepreneurship, here's a question to both of you, actually. Is it easier to get a job right now, or is it easier to start a company?
To start a company.
Absolutely. It's easy to start a company now. Absolutely. Anyway.
But then how do you start a company with very little experience?
My favorite film is Rocky Balboa. And he says, get ready to get hit and still keep pushing forward. As simple as that. I had one gentleman come and ask me in one of the breaks saying, hey, I think as a sort of a fear for launch. I said, launch a product. It's okay to fail. Get feedback. Rework, come back. Rework, come back. Rework, come back. I did that for 10 years.
There's a quote from Mike Tyson as well. He said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Exactly, yes.
And actually, you know what? I actually think I think the key here is how many times are you willing to get punched in the face to be successful? How many times? Do you know how many times I've gone to the university to say, let's do this idea that I've just told you about, and they punch me in the face?
Well,
over 15 times. Over 15 people have said, Harry, it's a bad idea. But I know it's a good idea, and I've just had validation from people's heads nodding, right? What about you, Karen?
Well, so I like to do martial arts for fun, and Krav Maga specifically. So I think actually, in today's day and age, you have a lot of opportunities to actually have your cake and eat it too, right? You can have a job, and you can then start having your side gig in the evenings and the weekends, right?
Absolutely.
Do you think that's a trajectory that will happen, be almost for everyone, almost 90% of the population will end up doing that because AI has created this ability to then do stuff?
I don't know. I think it's down to your personal individuals, right? Some of us like to look at the pool and say, well, screw it. I mean, I jump head first, and other people like to slowly go in and, wade into the water. There is no right or wrong way to do this. But I agree with you. You've got to try. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out, but you know what? You learn something. And then you take that into your next opportunity, because the best lessons are from failure, right? The gentleman earlier was, the presentation about the fact that everyone is looking at what's already been done. Entrepreneurs have to pick out what everybody else is missing. And he's not listening because I just, quoted you really badly. But it's true, right? You learn a lot more from other people's failures, your failures, educating, be curious, ask questions, don't be shy, than you would from looking at what Bezos did and only the glossy stuff on the magazines, right? Because actually he's the 0.000000001%.
Yeah.
All the, the local mom and dad shops, the small engineering firms that are turning over 250,000 pounds, they're employing people. They're the ones that are really good true entrepreneurs. And actually, if you think about it, small businesses are the backbone of every single world economy.
You know what I think also, I know we're going to be off stage in this, but I think the unfair advantage we have on stage compared to you is we're just older. and actually we have more dots of experience. It's about the experience. For me, entrepreneurship is you take all the dots of your experience and you bring them together to create something very unique that no one else has ever done. Right? Oh, question over there. I've got a question over there. I wish we did.
Sorry to interrupt. Like you said, we need a lot of experience to start something. And something that I look forward to is to become a change maker. And I see 3 change makers on the stage.
Use that mic.
From someone coming with a lack of experience, what can I do this week to become a change maker?
I don't think you guys actually have a lack of experience. I actually think you're not using it. Like if you think about it, like what do your parents do? Where do they work? Right? But actually, can you ask that question? What's your like background and history?
My parents run a small wholesale business back in India.
It's their own business, right?
Yeah.
Have you worked in that business?
Yeah.
Have you like met customers?
Yeah.
How, if I was to ask you how many people you've interacted with in your history in that business, how many people do you think it is? Is it hundreds, thousands?
Maybe 5, actually.
Just 5 customers? Oh, it's like a B2B business, not B2C. All right, sorry. I run a pub, so I like met thousands of people. So like for me, it's like that is brilliant. That is brilliant. A lot of people don't have that. They don't have family business. They don't have like 5 customers they spoke to. They don't, you know. So for me, it's like the experience is there. I don't think people are actually going more into it. What do you guys think? Because there's
Well,
actually.
I agree. You're here in the UK. You've got international experience. You're going to an international school with people who have already gone into the corporate world, sold their businesses, come from different cultures. You're in London, one of the most diverse and culturally, rich like part of the world, right? Not just down to culture, but also industry diversity, money making, like, innovation. Mind that, right? Go out and discover and have chats and meet people at events and, see how. I think the most important thing is you guys have to have confidence in yourselves, right? Nobody can give you that. Nobody can teach you that. And all of us go through, I call it temporary moments of insanity because they are temporary. But the first thing is you got to believe in yourself because that is what opens doors. That is what got the guys that were on the stage today pitching, right?
Put themselves out there.
Yeah.
And be ready to do whatever it takes to get out of the corporate world or wherever you want to work, etc. So a very small 10-second story I'll send. So I hired someone pretty young, a report coordinator and stuff like that, and they couldn't write content. They wrote me an email to HR saying, "Hey, I need access to content data." I asked, "How old are you?" 24. Don't you know to write content? She said, "Yeah, I can." Where are you writing it? Here's the Claude code. But even after that, right? Even with Claude and ChatGPT. So the thing is this: I'm here to do X. I'll only do X. That's something that we hate. At least I hate, right? From a scale-up point of view, right? If you do X, I want you to subset into Y as well as into whatever the alphabet comes before then, right? So that's the flexibility that I expect from people, and that's when I think you really grow. Even if not an entrepreneur, at least as entrepreneurs, and you'll have wonders to it. If you say, "Hey, I only want to do X, I'll not take anything up," and etc., then probably there's a way for that. But I feel that's probably not the way that I would advise. So.
You know what? Having been in-house marketing for 12 years and run my own agency, there's an iPhone there on this table. I'll show you. There's an iPhone. I'm recording this session, right? There's a wireless mic here. Got a mic here. 3 mics here. There's a mic going round, right? That I'm hosting this session, recording it, gonna edit it, gonna put it on LinkedIn, gonna do 10,000 views. One person, exactly. It wasn't social media editor, social media content writer, presenter, entrepreneurs. It was all mixed into one body. And that's what you guys got to do. That's where the value is. Because AI can't do that. It can't connect those layers together like we can.
And that's the only skill that you need to survive in the next decade. Next decade is going to be hard. Absolutely no doubts about it. But you need to be prepared for it. But not to get demotivated. I think if you have the willpower, all of you can win it.
That's a good place then. Thank you so much.